afternoon, everyone, and welcome to episode 5, the Women in Green Building, for the Building Green 2022, the digital conference. Building Green is the flagship campaign for PHILGBC events and consists of year-round activities that encourage participation in the green building advocacy. I'm Mario Suelto with the PHILGBC National Secretariat. Thank you to the PHILGBC Board of Trustees for initiating this event. Our chair, Mr. Edgar Sabidong, Vice President and Chief Sustainability Officer of Arthaland Corporation. Our Vice Chair, Ms. Rowena Ramos, Principal of Ecotektonika. Secretary, Ms. Elizabeth Mendoza, Managing Director, Monocrete Construction Philippines. And Treasurer, Mr. Ramon Rufino, CEO, NEO. The members of the board, Ms. Catherine Ilagan, President and COO, Philinvest Alabang. Mr. Felino Palafox Jr., Principal, Palafox Associates. Mr. Henry Luanag, Junior Partner, GFN Partners Architects. Mr. Luis Chamot, Country Manager, Saint-Gobain Philippines. Ms. Audrey Belpo, Managing Director, World Home Depot. Mr. Francisco Arellano, Consultant, Maynilad Water Services. And Mr. Gabriel Maria Angelo Cascante. I would also like to acknowledge the CEO of the PHILGBC, Mr. Christopher De La Cruz, the Executive Director, Ms. Maria Ana Tunggol, and the PHILGBC National Secretariat for organizing this conference. We would like to thank our members and sustaining corporate sponsors that support the programs of the PHILGBC and for making our activities possible. Our diamond sustaining sponsor, NEO, our gold sustaining sponsor, Wall Vision Corporation, and our silver sustaining sponsors, Arthaland Corporation, Daikin Air Conditioning Philippines, Ecotektonika, Firefly Electric and Lighting, GFN Partners Architects, Gigatech, KPI Elevators, Monocrete Construction Philippines, Saint-Gobain Philippines, SMCC Philippines, Surface Repair Solutions, and World Home Depot. We would also like to thank our BG2022 strategic partners for their support in making this Building Green Conference 2022 possible. Our diamond sustaining sponsor and national secretariat sponsor, NEO Property Management. Our gold sustaining sponsor, Wall Vision Corporation. Our BG 2022 gold strategic partners, Aboitiz Infracapital Economic Estates, and City Homes Builders and Development. Our BG 2022 silver strategic partners, First Balfour, Daikin Air Conditioning Philippines, and Wall Vision Corporation. Our BG 2022 bronze strategic partners, AGC Asia Pacific, Botanica Nature Residences, Philinvest City, Datem Incorporated, FPD Asia Property Services, and Monocrete Construction Philippines. Before we continue, please be reminded of the following event guidelines. This webinar will be recorded by the PHILGBC National Secretariat for documentation purposes. If you have questions during the session, use the question box in the GoToWebinar panel to submit your questions. Upon request, an electronic certificate of attendance will be issued by the PHILGBC National Secretariat to your registered email address, provided that you are present for more than 50% of the allotted time for each session, have completed the feedback survey which will be sent to your registered email address after the event, and you've requested a copy of your certificate through events@philgbc.org. We continue with our celebration of the World Green Building Week, with this year's theme, Building for Everyone, for the planet, communities, and the economy. And for this episode, the Women in Green Building, we will listen to the discussion from inspiring women leaders in the industry as they discuss their key roles in pursuing and achieving sustainability goals within their respective organizations. We will first be presenting the winners of the PHILGBC Leadership in Green Building Awards 2022, held last July, before we formally introduce our moderator and panelists for this year's Women in Green Building panel. The PHILGBC Leadership in Green Building Awards is a national recognition program of the Philippine Green Building Council, hosted every 2 years. The awards showcase the achievements of businesses and innovators in the country that are leading the way on sustainability in our built environment. The awards celebrate iconic green buildings, up-and-coming innovators, and inspiring companies driving change and creating a better future throughout the Philippines. The winners of the PHILGBC Leadership in Green Building Awards 2022 were announced last July 2022. The members of the jury, led by Engineer Francisco Arellano, member of the PhilGBC Board of Trustees and chair of the Awards Committee, and a senior technical consultant for Maynilad Water, evaluated the nominations for this year's awards. Members of the jury included Mr. Gabriel Maria Angelo Cascante, member of the PhilGBC Board of Trustees, Attorney Marjorie De Castro, principal of M. De Castro Law and founding member of the PhilGBC Board of Trustees, Ms. Elizabeth Mendoza, Managing Director of Monocrete Construction Philippines, Secretary of the PhilGBC Board of Trustees, and Ms. Audrey Belpo, Managing Director of World Home Depot Corporation and member of the PhilGBC Board of Trustees. The awards were focused on three categories: the Business Leadership in Sustainability Award, the Leadership in Sustainable Design and Performance Award, and the Women in Green Building Leadership Award. The winners for the PhilGBC Leadership in Green Building Awards 2022 are KPI Elevators for the Business Leadership in Green Building, Lima Estate of Lima Land Incorporated for the Leadership in Sustainable Design and Performance, and architect Araceli Barlam of the City Government of Mandaue for the Women in Green Building Leadership. So congratulations once again to all of our winners. As the Philippine winners for the awards, they will represent the country as our official nominees to the World GBC Asia Pacific Leadership in Green Building Awards. This global awards of the World GBC showcases the businesses and innovators breaking ground for sustainable buildings in the Asia Pacific. The World GBC winners will be announced during the World GBC APN activities in November in Bali, Indonesia. To proceed with this episode's dialogue and to formally introduce the moderators and panelists, we have Ms. Rowena Ramos, Vice Chair of the PhilGBC Board of Trustees, Principal of Ecotektonika, and the winner of the Women in Green Building Leadership during the PhilGBC Leadership in Green Building Awards 2020, and a recipient of the Special Achievement for Women in Green Building Leadership during the World GBC Asia Pacific Leadership in Green Building Awards 2020. Ms. Ramos?
This afternoon, PhilGBC will feature inspiring women from the private and public sectors of the building industry. We will hear how we are all interconnected in pursuing green building through their specific roles and responsibilities as an individual and as part of an organization. We will be hearing about their unique leadership style and how they have positively influenced the people they work with in pursuing and achieving sustainability goals. I am privileged to introduce these women leaders. Our first panelist is a medical doctor with postgraduate degree in public health, an experienced public health and management specialist with 40 years of experience that includes senior executive and management positions in government and in a United Nations agency. She served in various key positions at the Department of Health, the last as Assistant Secretary of Health, before joining the World Health Organization Western Pacific Region in 1995. While in WHO, she served as director responsible for the division of building healthy communities and populations and as director for reform until retirement in 2010. She served as Senior Policy Advisor at the DOH from 2011 to 2016, and in 2017 was consultant to the Climate Change Commission to engage the health sector in CCC's Green Hospitals initiative. In 2021, she drafted the policy direction on climate-smart hospitals as a management tool for the CCC to ensure the health sector's contribution to the country's climate change goals and targets under the Paris Agreement. A leader, a manager, a convener, an effective negotiator and communicator, a mentor, a partner in health, Please welcome Dr. Linda L. Milan. We are delighted to have in our panel the Vice President and Head of the Strategic Procurement Department of Arthaland and has been working in the company since its inception. At the time, she was entrusted with the responsibility to grow the department. She embraced the challenge and successfully introduced Arthaland as a green developer by supporting the need to seek sustainable materials. She effectively implemented a green procurement process that allowed Arthaland to engage with vendors that value sustainability. Through her leadership, the company created more demand for sustainable construction materials, increasing its accessibility in the market. Ladies and gentlemen, Lani G. Kanapi. Completing our distinguished panel is a registered architect who served in several capacities in the local government unit of Mandaue. As an assistant head in planning, design, programming, and estimate section at the City Engineer's Office from 2006 to 2012. From 2009 to 2012 as head architectural section at the Office of the Building Official. Under the Office of Strategy Management, she served as the Strategy Execution and Strategy Alignment Manager from 2013 to 2016. At present, she is the department head of the City Environment and Natural Resources Office of Mandaue City. An architect, a certified BED professional, an environmental planner, and PHILGBC's winner for Women in Green Building 2022, please welcome Araceli Ara G. Barlam. This afternoon's moderator is the Managing Director for Property Management of Neo Property Management, Inc. Trained in project management, she helped lead NEO in receiving international and local recognitions, including the most significant world's first portfolio to be certified with EDGE Zero Carbon and the first in the Philippines to receive 5-star Verde certifications for operations for all 7 buildings of the NEO portfolio. She delights herself in practical strategies to make sustainable operations inexpensive and less challenging. As a woman in the male-dominated real estate industry, she advocates for women's empowerment, putting forward that women can contribute more to advancing sustainable development. A green building, health and safety, sustainability advocate, a pollution control officer, and a certified BED practitioner who will be bringing us up close and personal with our 3 distinguished women leaders, our moderator, G. Garcia. At
Thank
this
you so
point,
much, Meg.
yes, at this point, may I invite you, beautiful members of our panel, to turn on your camera. And from this point, G and our panelists, you now have the digital stage. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you, Wang.
Thank you.
I don't think I can see that. Yeah. Ara, are you there? There you go. Okay, let's get the ball rolling. Such a wonderful group of panelists here. Basically, when we started conceptualizing this panel discussion, the first question in mind by the team or the committee is that is there really an actual inequality between men and women in leadership opportunities here, particularly here in the Philippines? Or specific to our to whatever industry you are in. So let's just deep dive. Is there really an issue or is just perceived? But before we even go to that, let's just check first your leadership style, and then maybe we can find out from there if there's really some inequality in the leadership. Uh, who wants to start first? Who inspired you as a leader? Dr. Alinda, maybe you wanted to start.
Am I unmuted now?
Yeah, Yes, you are. Yes.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone, and good afternoon, ladies. Well, who inspired me as a leader? I cannot really pick a one person who has inspired me because I think being a leader is not like choosing a career path. Like I want to be a doctor, so I studied medicine. If you want to be a businessman, you take up that. I believe that being a leader really grows in the person as you go through life. It is not something that you aspire that, when I grow up, I want to be a leader. So having said that, I think it's not something you choose to be in the future, but just comes to you as a matter of course of your life. But I think in my journey, what I have learned throughout my career, I think it's more of wherever assignment I was assigned, I found a need and I filled it with the best of my ability. So it's nothing about thinking that I'm going to do this because I want to be a leader. But however small it is or big it is, I filled the need and I did it with the best I can. And I think that's what brought me to where I am.
Yeah, that's nice to
If
hear.
I
I
have,
mean, you feel the need. Yeah, you feel the need. I mean, that's something new that I've been hearing from leaders. You feel the need and you do something about it, right? So,
yeah. Well, if you have to ask me really whether who would it be, I think I would pick former Secretary Alran Bengson because I
oh
learned
yeah.
a lot. I learned a
Mm,
lot from him. He was so tough. He was disciplined. Hindi pwede ang pwede na. You have to aim for perfection. And
mm-hmm.
probably from
Okay.
the international field, a man with the same character as Secretary Bengson. He's a Korean. He used to be the regional director of the World Health Organization. Same quality. And a lady, the former Director General of WHO, was the former Prime Minister of Norway, Gro Harlem Brundtland. Tough in the midst of all
Mm-hmm.
adversity and in the midst of all men.
Yeah, kudos to her. Yeah. How about you, Lani? Who
Yeah,
inspired
hi.
you?
Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, actually, it may sound cliche, but I would have to say when talking women uh, leaders, I would say my mom. She is a classic example of a female who has thrived and led organizations in a male-dominated industry. And even as early as the 70s and 80s, talagang when I look at management of the companies she's been with, kadalasan she's there, the lone female in a group of males. And
Mm-hmm.
at the age 50, she was heading a big American manufacturing plant in China. So
Wow.
it the with a language barrier, cultural barrier, she was there and she
Mm-hmm.
really did a good job in terms of leading the whole factory. And she's always shown me that determination, hard work, that's really the measure of how you become a leader, and it's not about size or gender. I mean, we're the same. She's not tall, she's also a short
Yeah.
lady. And it's really she's very, if you would say, alpha female, that's how I would describe her. And she's actually the one who encouraged me to take up civil engineering way back
Mm-hmm.
um, in the 90s, and which is again a male dominated field. So
Mm-hmm.
she's really inspired me in that way. And it's really it's really real testament that there are really no barriers that are impossible to overcome.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool, Lani, because in China, that it's not all women can work there. I mean, it's very challenging for your mom to be, one of the top leaders there. So yeah. How about you, Ara? Congratulations, Ara, our
Thank you.
representative. Yeah, Ara,
I would have,
yeah, go
yes,
ahead.
yes, I would have the same answer with Miss Lani. It's actually my mother also. She's a retired school principal, and she's always called herself a survivor. She's the first of her family to have finished college and the first to have finished college with honors, a cum laude. That's a very small feat. That's no small feat for a woman of her time. She was born in 1940, so she's 82 right now. She's going to have her birthday very soon, in a few days. She's not a green building leader, but she's a very intimidating green thumb. So that's what I
Mm,
can say about my mother.
yeah, yeah. I mean, in the 1940s, it's difficult, you know. I mean, women
Yeah,
leaders
she
at
was
the time.
expected to go to school, but she asked her
Oh,
she asked her father uh, to let her go to school.
yeah, yeah, because they don't support, you know, women during that time to study. They are better off being housewives during that period. Did we lost Dr. Linda? Oh, there
Yeah,
you
yeah.
go.
Yes, the
Oh,
audio was lost for a while.
okay. Yeah, it's the internet connection. As a leader, how do you ensure that your leadership evokes equality and fairness, regardless of any age and gender? Maybe we can start with Lani.
Yeah. So in my company where I am, Arthaland, I'm leading the procurement team, and the team is composed. We're a very lean organization, so the team is composed of 7 women, including me. And I know that we have each our own responsibilities at home with our kids. So as a leader of this department with all women, I've come to accept, that it's women that's always being called when there's an emergency at home, or when your kids are sick. So I make
Mm-hmm.
sure that in my team that in terms of operations, that we expect that those things would come within the team. When someone has to go on emergency leave, we make sure that in terms of the operations, we will continue regardless of anybody's absence. So talagang we've
Mm-hmm.
adjusted our processes and our systems to ensure that we can accommodate that sort of
Mm-hmm.
needs of the families of our employees.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
definitely the tasks are assigned based on their capabilities and skills. And all employee performances are based on very specific and agreed upon measurable results. So regardless of age, or marital status, or gender, it's really it doesn't hold a bearing into any of the decisions that we make in our company.
Yeah, yeah, it's just a support system then, you know, among the team. So that's very nice. How about you, Dr. Linda?
Yeah, like Lani also, I really don't discriminate against age or gender, but if you have a team, then you have to accept the people in the team, and you
Mm-hmm.
presume that they assume that position because of their qualifications. And so that's where I start. I work with the people who are there, who are supposed to be brought into the team because of their skills and their knowledge. And I think appreciate them when they appreciate them when they do something well, encourage them if they need encouragement, and whether they
Yeah.
be a young, old, a man or a woman, I mean, it doesn't matter. So I don't really
Mm-hmm.
discriminate against people as far as age or gender is concerned. I take whoever there
Yeah.
is and then work with them
As long as they can do the job.
as long as they do the job. And
Correct.
they want
Yeah.
to
How
learn.
about
So.
you, Ara? Yeah, in the local government, not much of you know, female leaders there, right? How do you do it? I mean, age and gender wise.
Yes, I have taken more than one survey, much like what you call the Strengths Finder, if you're familiar with that. And in those tests
Mm-hmm.
that I've taken, I have been labeled or identified as a relationship builder. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Having said, I am a woman first and a mother second. So I believe that being a relationship builder given na yung being guarding equality and fairness, inherent na siya for me in my
In you.
experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes po.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Okay. So the I know that you're familiar with the breaking the glass, yeah, this glass ceiling, etc. And that has been broken already. But the question really would be, how good are women based on their male counterpart? Is there really a difference between how we lead our team, or it's just the same? I mean, depending on the person, is there really a difference between your male counterparts as far as of leadership? Probably let's start with Ara.
In my experience, ma'am, as I've mentioned earlier, I've been identified as a relationship builder. And in my limited experience, I can safely say that men leaders generally tend towards the opposite. I'd like to go a little further. I'd like to relate it to the Hunger Games. If everyone is familiar with the Hunger Games,
Yeah,
men leaders
we are.
try to organize Hunger Games and they enjoy watching Hunger Games. Those are the men leaders I have encountered.
Dr. Linda is laughing. Doctora, you want
Well,
to add to it?
The laugh.
well, my generation siguro, baka I don't understand more itong mga games kayon. But anyway, between men and women, between men, that's where I need to learn a lot actually from other members of the team. But the difference between a man and a woman in leadership, siguro the women are, I may be wrong, but being housewives and being, running the house and so on, we are more, maybe we have more attention to details. And Ara is right, more into relationships, building. The men are more, siguro mas more goal-oriented and looking more strategically and not really looking into those bits and pieces that, you really have to attend to if you want to achieve your goal. So parang medyo, women maybe a little bit more busisi and how to in terms of process than men. It's not really well. It's not everyone, but that's what I see as a difference. Mas mahinahon siguro yung women, more forgiving, but the men can be so tough and can, not impatient, demanding.
Mm, yeah. Lani, yeah, in your case.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Being females, I guess I see it as an advantage now that our motherly instincts kick in, even with our teams. So parang, and with that additional care, extra care for the people, extra care for the people that you're working with. I think it's something that they value and cherish as well, being part of the organization, the team, na alam nilang there
Mhm,
are people na hindi lang simple boss, but people that genuinely care for them,
uh-huh.
and their lives, health and everything. So I think
Mm,
dun yun yung advantage ng women, I would
mhm.
say.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. I mean, since we are, we make sure that everyone is taken care of, right? And maybe that's one of the advantages that we have. Now let's go deeper into the conversation.
But
What do you think is your positive?
sorry,
Yeah, go ahead. You want to
they,
add?
kasi we're all women so the men may not want to hear what we are saying.
Actually, we have some. I think we have some male attendees here. Eh, pagbigyan na nila tayo kasi this is Women
Oo
Leading
nga.
Philippines.
This is our moment, di ba?
Yeah, this
Oo.
is our moment. So, pagbigyan na nila tayo dito. But I think it still depends on in every woman in the industry. So I think there are a few who really are who were really born to be leaders and they are really really good at it. Yun yun. what do you think are, now let's go for the advantages and the barriers that we are experiencing during our leadership. What do you think is your positive impact, or in your specific organization? Because we have different organizations here. Lani is from the private sector, Ara here is from the local government, Doctora is an independent consultant. What do you think is the specific organization, your area of influence, I mean, with respect to positive impact? Uh, Probably let's start with Lani this time.
Yeah. Well, in terms of positive impact to my peers, or to in my company, I would like to say that I'm hoping that I have inspired younger female employees, that it is possible to have a family, to have a starting family, and still hold on to a career that you value. Um, it's I guess I'm living testament that it's possible. I started with Arthaland when my kids were one year old, and
Mm.
newborn, and it's been
Mm-hmm.
it's really different for women, but it's not it's something that is not should not be a barrier in terms of pursuing your career. So I'm hoping that
Mm.
I can, especially now, the younger ones, I hear that they don't have plans of having a family, that they just want to advance in their careers. And I'm really hoping that I would somehow I would somehow influence them that it is possible to have both.
Mm. Yeah. Dr. Linda?
Yeah, well, I agree with Lani. I think for me, although this is probably better asked of the teams that I work with, but I think like Lani, it would be inspiring people
Mm-hmm.
because there are a lot of challenges. And if you are able to inspire them that they can do something, make them realize their potential and then empower them to become leaders themselves, I think they'd appreciate it because it's not all like promotions or
Mm-hmm.
monetary, incentives. But I
Yes.
think people, as people, they would like to be recognized, and they would like also, they would like to learn. And for every little thing that they do, I think they would like to be appreciated and inspired
Mm-hmm.
and supported in whatever they do. So I think I think I'm inspiring them to do the best they can and supporting them in that.
It's nice also to be remembered by your no your by the people that you have inspired. Remember that. Ara?
Yes, with approximately 40 different offices in the local government unit of Mandaue, I would like to believe lang, this is my impression. I'd like to believe that so far I've been able to work well with all the heads of these offices. I have been in the
Mm-hmm.
government for 22 years, and I have led
Mm-hmm.
my department for the past 6 years. To me,
Mm-hmm.
education has come parang relatively easy. And I attribute this maybe to prior to being head of the office, I was part of the office called Office of Strategy Management, whose main function was to hold all offices in line with the city strategy. I was in charge of strategy execution. Tinatawag
Mm-hmm.
nila executioner. But that experience, I believe, helped me as I became head of my own office, helped me maintain a good sense of coordination among all the other leaders as well. So being the executioner, I thought was detrimental to my relationship with them, but obviously it helped me gain more connection with them. So that's it.
Yeah, as a follow-up, it's nice, no, Ara, I mean, being the executioner. Um, Parang ang hirap nun, with a lot of people there in Mandaue, being the executioner. Baka pa habang naglalakad ka na when you're walking, oh, there goes Ara, the executioner. Yeah, just a
That's there.
follow-up question on that one. Yeah, sorry, Ara, go ahead.
Po, sige po, sir. Sige po, ma'am.
And then how do they call you now? I mean, when you're walking, they call you engineer, or they call you like ang tapang, di ba? I remember that there goes this a dragon lady or something, sometimes you are being called, if you are you have that very strong personality in leadership, sometimes you are being called with names. Do you happen to know if there, I'm just, making this light. Do you have a code name from any one of your, staff that you know of? Lani, do you
Me?
have any code? Oh yeah, how about you, Ara? None?
I
None as
don't know. I'm not aware what they call me right now, but definitely
oh, Dr.
the
Linda.
women
Well,
leadership is a great help. That's giving me
Uh,
a
well,
new name.
ako noon, when I was starting out and Dr. Bengson was the Secretary of Health, I was his head executive assistant. But he would
mm,
tell I am the bastonero. Uh,
Baston.
Bastonero, because anything that goes to the office of the secretary, for approval and everything, you need
Uh-huh,
to look and put your initials. So when there
uh-huh.
are things coming from a higher authority like a deputy minister or an
Mm,
undersecretary, I cannot just sign if I don't agree with it in principle. I cannot sign because it came from a higher official than me. But
yeah.
Banks would say, yeah, bastonero, so that's it, bastonero.
Bastonero. Okay. As a follow-up, not all women leaders are, make it to their career. I mean, they weren't that successful. What kind of suggestions or traits do you think why it impedes that career? I mean, why they were not able to make it to that particular career that they wanted to, achieve? I mean, in the industry that they wanted to be in. Probably I'll start with Ara.
Yes, thank you, Ma'am G. Indeed, I believe there are advantages to being a woman leader, and I personally take advantage of these advantages. I think the most significant barrier is when a woman lacks the belief and confidence to own these advantages. Parang
Mhm.
hindi siya aware na she can do something, she has this power to influence people. If she doesn't
Mhm.
believe that, that's a very big barrier. Uh,
Uh-huh.
for,
It's the person. It's the person
yes.
itself. Yeah. How about you, Lani? What do you think?
Yeah, actually, I agree with Ara. No, I think yun lang yung nakikita kong barrier in terms of leadership. I mean, a lot of women are smart, educated, but I guess talagang in terms of, personality of women, minsan women talagang still feel the need to prove themselves. Sometimes they underestimate their abilities, and they're just most women are just not aggressive enough or not as aggressive as
Mm-hmm.
the male counterparts. So
Mm-hmm.
I think
Mm-hmm.
yun lang yung medyo still kind of prevalent in our current society, that
Uh-huh.
hopefully ma-address soon.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's true. How about you, Dr. Linda? I mean, you've started early also in your career, right? I mean, did you experience that, or any suggestions why other women are, being impeded when it comes to their career?
Well, I did not hear the earlier discussion because of my connection was lost. But I think they're saying something about stereotyping. Yeah, there is stereotyping among many and even among women. I think Ara mentioned about some sense of insecurity, which
Mm-hmm.
affects the way the women also behave, no? Kasi parang um, hindi kami tulad nila. So sometimes that could be manifested in a aggressive behavior, which could be wrong.
Uh-huh.
So medyo then I think it was Lani who mentioned the dual role of women, being raising a family, a homemaker. So you have many responsibilities. It's not just a job that you are doing, but you look after your children. You may have problems in the home, but still you have to perform. You have to deliver on your job. So I think yun yung I think those are the barriers, no, that would really require women to have that delicate balance, you have a balancing act of being a mother, a wife, a breadwinner, or a daughter-in-law, or whatever.
Yeah, that's
So
true. And yeah, the stereotyping, being a mom, and then you'll have to focus on your career and you are faced with being the breadwinner. I mean, imagine all those challenges and then putting them all together. Only a few can really manage to handle that. And these panelists, like the three of you, are like one of the luckiest ones that are there. Let's go further now into sustainability. They say that women are the heart and fight against climate change. Why do you think that is? And as a leader, why do you think that it's crucial to tackle climate change now, as in this time? Probably I can start with Dr. Linda.
Um, well, we spoke about women being the homemaker and so on, and then you're saying something about we are the heart in the campaign against climate change. I guess we are more maingat, we are more careful. I think we are. I know we are more sustainability oriented, and
Mm-hmm.
we come as a natural probably to a woman with all the patience and so on. But I would like to go to what you said, that why is it
Why do you need to
now?
start now? Yeah,
It's late. We should have done that decades ago,
that's true.
because now we are already living the roots of our collective abuse environment, and so maybe that realization is something that should spur women more to improving the situation as far as climate is sustained.
Dr. Linda, we're kind of losing you, hello,
Yeah,
Dr. Linda. I think you're having some troubles with your
I have
internet.
trouble with yeah, I have trouble with connection. I don't know. I well, I had so where did we leave off? As I'm saying, I think women, by the nature of women and the type of, I mean, as we heard from the other panelists, I think they pursue the objectives. They are quite careful, look into more the details. They're more patient. Doing sustainability projects is not something that you can achieve overnight. There can be a lot of obstacles, but probably the women, maybe they're a little bit equipped by the nature of their role as a builder, home builder, and so on, family builder, to be more patient and find ways of
Mm-hmm.
going about the problem and still achieve the objective.
Yeah, that's true. How about you, Ara? What do you think?
I'm reading the question. I'm thinking of the question na sinabi mo kanina
Yeah,
na why
yeah,
are the women the heart of the fight against climate change, right po?
yeah. Yeah, and then why now? Why do we need to address climate change now?
I guess among us, nobody would disagree when I say Mother Nature is a woman, right? So, parang in that sentence, yung sinabi ni Dr. Linda kanina was the explanation. But the second question is why now? I remember it was pre-pandemic, a year before pandemic. I read something in YouTube, a question na sinasabing, why is it when it comes to climate change, people always think that it's happening elsewhere. It's not happening here in my place, in my front yard. It's happening somewhere else. It's happening, but it's not here. And we are only able to address it when it happens to us. Parang we only act when it happens to us. And
Mm-hmm.
the YouTube presented it as um, this is how we address pain kasi pain, PAIN. We address climate change through the word pain. P is personal, It's not personal, we don't mind it. We don't react to it. But it's when it's personal, talagang sugod tayo. A is when it's adverse, something that is new, something that's not amenable to us. And then I, if it's something indecent. And N, if it's something that is happening now. Only when we
Mm-hmm.
have, when we feel the pain, is the only time that we feel that climate
Yeah.
change is totoo. So why now? Is because we are already feeling the pain right now. Everybody's feeling the pain. In Mandaue, as mentioned, announced yesterday, I believe, Mandaue already declared a state of calamity because of the mass flooding.
Mm-hmm.
And mayor announced that we had an emergency meeting last week, and he did not want to spend time blaming all of us or blaming anybody, because he said this is all on us. This is because of years of abuse. So now lang
Yeah.
natin na feel pain, and then now we're acting on it. Parang ganon.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Parang we only have one planet, and everybody needs to really look into that whole planet, not just an area of that particular planet. Lani, how about you?
Yeah. Actually, I was reading an article recently, and yun nga, according to the UN, no, women tend to share more information and are more yung well-being of the community, and more willing to adapt to mga environmental changes because their family lives are impacted. So like I said nga, parang we're not just leaders in our organization, we're leaders in our own homes. So we're the ones
Mm-hmm.
responsible in managing our own resources. So whether it be food, energy, fuel, of course, our funds.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
I guess yun nga, in terms of level of details and the information that we have, we
Mm-hmm.
can start from within our families in terms of
Mm-hmm.
managing our resources. And yeah, why now? Na-mention nga ni Dr. Milana, we should have done this decades ago. We've been talking about climate change since the earlier, the older generations. Um, for decades, this has been a topic
Mm-hmm.
already. And it's
Yeah.
now that we're feeling the effects, we're getting warmer summers, yung weather natin nag-iiba na yung seasons, well, seasons dami, 4 seasons. Yung seasons natin nag-iiba na. Nantay ko nila nga mag-snow eh. But
Ay, na rin sa atin, ano?
basically it's correct. I guess in this generation, our generation, we have enough knowledge, information, technology at this point to actually start doing something
Mm-hmm.
globally, not just within our organization, within the Philippines, but globally. We have enough
Mm-hmm.
information to work with the whole world in order to mitigate already. And
Yeah.
diba, parang if it's something we need to work on now to ensure that our children, our children's children will inherit. At least
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they'll still have to work on it, but it's at least we've started it now. So
Yeah.
it would
Mm-hmm. But
hopefully.
one more thing is that maybe the generations now are more vocal about it, and they are more
Even the
vocal
younger.
about climate change. And because if we're going to look into the generations in the past, they're not as Ara was saying, it's more of the pain. But right now, the generations now, it's not a fab anymore. Everybody's like really looking into the climate change, and the prevention of any damage, more damages to the planet. Yeah, to add on that, is there any push for systematic climate change around ideas that you feel that we should really focus on at this point? I mean, can you share those ideas? Anything new or something that is not popular, or something that is popular now that you feel that everyone should really focus on at this point? Who wants to start? Probably Doctora?
I think because addressing climate change is really not a one sector kind of thing, no. And we often hear, in government we say that it should be the all of nation approach, the whole of society approach. And if you say that, it's really quite challenging. But that is how we should address, I guess, climate change, because I mean, all aspects of life contribute to this problem of the climate. So I would think that there should be, and I think it's possible that there should be some national policy. The Climate Change Commission was established in 2009 to be the sole government, policy making to shepherd all of the government agencies, so that whatever programs or operations they have should be helping us ward off the climate change effects. So I think the Climate Change Commission can continue to do its work and engage all the sectors, because everybody's involved in this. I'd say that for example, in the health sector, health has been very good. You can see them address the effects of climate change, go emergency preparedness, assisting effects. But it was only like a few years back that sector realizes that we are also accountable for climate change. So, I think that paradigm shift had to be there, and national, a national policy, a strong national policy, maybe emphasizing that should help in the effort.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, it has to be holistic. It should be a national effort. It's not gonna be like just Mandaue is doing this, another, province is doing this. It has to be a whole thing so that it can be addressed, right? How about you, Lani? I mean, in the private sector, or you yourself, what do you think?
Yeah, well, they do say that the construction industry is the biggest contributor to to climate change, and as an organization, we really had that in mind early on, and it's really we've actually, as an organization, committed to net zero carbon buildings by 2030, and we've committed 100% of our portfolio will be certified sustainable. So all of the decisions we make as an organization is really anchored on that commitment. And like Dr. Milan said, addressing climate change is not a one-time big time thing. It's really something that has to continue on, has to be in itself sustainable. And
Yes.
most organizations are starting off like doing CSR activities, and all that has to really be integrated in the company's business processes to ensure that all actions you're taking now would be sustainable.
Yeah, that's true. Kudos to your organization. You're really doing a great job, with respect to making sure that uh, uh, the carbon is really being reduced. Ara, in your case, you're in the local government of Mandaue, right? So anything that you can share to us about this particular item?
Yes, I'll try to zoom in on solid waste management in Mandaue, because we believe solid waste management plays a great role sa emission ng carbon.
Yes.
When we say when we want change in general and we want to move the dial and nothing is happening, most of the time always blame it on behavioral change, right?
Yes.
Walang nangyayari because nobody is doing what they're supposed to do, nobody's listening, nobody's changing their ways. It's always behavioral change. But in my experience, it's not entirely true na talagang behavioral lang. In our experience, the government has to provide something consistent, a service that is consistent and it's relevant to solve the problem or manage the solid waste. Kasi if the government does not provide that consistency, the people will not change. There's no behavioral change that's going to happen. That's why it has to be this partnership na hindi lang puro behavioral change that we're expecting to change, but definitely the service has to be there and it has to be consistent for the change to happen.
That's true. Because if it's not consistent and everybody's doing it on their own, it might not be the correct one, right? So it has to be something with, a clear standing, understanding of what needs to be done. So the support really should be there. The process should be there, right? Yeah, over the decade ago, sustainability was something new in the industry, just recently. But it's been there. Like Dr. Linda was saying, it should have be, it is there, but it's only being media mileage nowadays, right? So the depth of understanding was very limited to the eyes of many in the built environment. All of you being here in the panel discussion proves that you have heard of your time in understanding the demands of society and the built environment from the point of view of the policy making and the actual design, construction, operation, and even the end users. Starting off with Dr. Relinda, from a policy influencer's point of view, what is your specific sustainability goal? And how do you make them happen? Probably if you can give us or sum it up into three items, what are the challenges and the corresponding actions that goes with it?
Um, so, well, it's not a personal goal, but because of the situation where I found myself with the Climate Change Commission. So I would say that the sustainability goal actually is, what we advocate is that climate hospitals or health facilities should be climate smart. And so
Mm,
that's the goal that we would like, and all the work has gone into that, and hospitals should be sustainable in a development setting. So there are three actually challenges in doing that, because I think I mentioned earlier that as far as the health sector is concerned, we're quite good at adaptation, but maybe a lot of things to do yet with the mitigation. So
mm,
this is a challenge. Is It's a transformation, and not everybody would like transformative change. It's a difficult process, but first of all, it's transformational. We would like to make health, their facilities and their operations to be climate smart, and
mm,
to get the health sector to realize that although they address very well their work as far as running to the rescue after every emergency, they are also accountable for this problem of climate change, and this is something that we've worked on to realize the other aspect of their responsibility. Now,
mm,
I think the second one, and it's not easy because the project calls for a paradigm shift. So I think that's the second challenge. In a situation right now that there are competing priorities. Of course, health will always. No, we are in a pandemic, for example, and all other things. And to be studying and looking into how your hospitals, your health facilities can be, sometimes it also gets in the way of what health would see as their primary function, but it has to be done. So this paradigm shift would have to happen, and start doing the mitigation. So when we say health, and I think Lani was saying something about building being the I mean
Biggest contributor.
yeah,
yeah.
the bigger culprit. You
I
could
mean,
think
Mm,
you would think of the thousands of hospitals that were built nung kopong-kopong pa that may not have even followed all of these guidelines. So because of this
mm,
paradigm shift, it's a whole, it's a turnaround. You have to look now at what should hospitals be. So that's why we are into, in the building industry, so that hospitals can have new standards, guidelines,
uh,
and so on. So
yeah.
that's the project, and the challenge. The third challenge I
Mm,
would say is, health is a devolved function. And we are not just talking about a national policy that the Department of Health at the central office would have to implement. Of course, they will set the standards, the guidelines, and all of these licensing requirements and so on. But because it is a devolved agency, the local government units, the regional level, they're all active players. They're important players in making hospitals climate smart. So local government, I think it's good that ARA is here because local government executives can implement things in their own locality. So I think those are the three. It's you have to bridge. The third would be bridging policy and the implementation gap, and that is a wide gap to fill.
Yeah, that's super
So
true, Doctor.
we
Yeah,
are very
yeah,
good
that's
at
a big gap.
planning. We're
Yeah,
very good at coming up with policies, but come implementation, I think we need to do a lot more in refining and how things can be implemented or operationalized. So
Mm-hmm.
those are
And the
the
planning itself, right, Doctora? Like the planning itself, whenever they're gonna design hospital, it should be planned. What happens after, 10 years or 5 years? You plan it for that, not just now. Plan it 10 years after, right? So that when you
challenges.
build it, it's still, it happened already during the pandemic. Our hospitals are not equipped to
Yes.
treat
But
pandemic or to address this one. So that was the challenge then. And only then we are like, putting on these hospitals.
yeah, the health sector is moving towards that direction. In fact, I think I would like at this point I'd like to thank the partners, UNDP, and then the private
Mm,
partners. BC is quite has been very supportive in providing skills to the concerned staff of the health department so that they know what are the standards now. And I am looking forward to have them having finalized their guidelines and their standards that could be rolled out
you,
and explained in the field for those who are
mm,
implementing so that they're able to implement the new standards and
yeah,
apply it in licensing. Yeah.
you mentioned, yeah, that's true, Doctor. How about you, Lani, in the private sector? I mean, what do you think should the influencers really focus on?
Yeah, actually, like as mentioned, Arthaland was built. Arthaland started about 14 years ago as a developer, and
Mm-hmm.
it was only around that time that talk about greening or sustainable development started. And at that time, I guess the very first sustainability goal that we targeted really was sustainable cities and communities. That's what we committed to do as a company, as a developer.
Mm-hmm.
And there were a lot of challenges that we encountered at that time. But if I must pick like the top three, the first one is we needed to educate our partners. Like I said, we were using the standard, the US Green Building Standard, the LEED
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
certification. Even PHILGBC was starting out then, so eventually we were working on Verde as well. But we were working with the best groups of consultants, architects, engineers, contractors, and suppliers that are really experienced in their field. But come our directive, we need to build a sustainable building. Everyone was just at a loss in terms of, okay, how do we put everything
How do we do
together?
that?
How do you do that? So it was really about, we had to learn about sustainability ourselves as a company, and at the same time we had to educate all our partners as well on how we can execute that project. Like
Mm-hmm.
I need a solid door. Okay, by guidelines we need to have FSC certified doors. Okay, what's that? Where do we get that? So brings me to a second challenge, which is the scarcity of
Ah,
sustainable materials at that time. It was really a
mm-hmm.
challenge because especially like the US has been doing this for a while. So in terms of their standards, it's quite different from ours. So that posed as a real challenge for us to find the right suppliers, the right partners to provide us with materials that then help us build our first introduction to the market, which is our ARIA residences, our green residential building. And the third challenge really is to educate the market as well. We were just introducing our company. We were saying that we're a sustainable developer, but for the market, it was also something new for them. And we needed to do a bit of, educating everyone about the benefits. What would you do if you tell a buyer that, okay, you can save as much as 20% on your energy? Yeah, but I can afford it. Diba? So pag minsan you have
Yeah.
to really educate them as well in terms of the benefits, not just to them, but of
Mm.
course to the community and the environment. So that was those were like the main challenges we encountered at that time.
Mm-hmm. Is it still a problem at this point, or those challenges are already resolved?
I
I
think
know that the
thank
scarcity of materials is still there, but in terms of what other aspect do you think is more
I
challenging at
think
this time?
at this point, I think with conferences like this, with everybody talking about sustainability, we're also encouraging more vendors, to provide or source sustainable materials, and I think it's people are more educated now,
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
are more aware of these challenges that we have to address. So
Mm-hmm.
it's it's improved
Getting better,
from
getting there. Yeah.
many years ago.
Ara?
Yes. Sorry, yes.
Yeah, Ara?
Hello. Yes. Um, for Mandaue, specifically for my office, I believe the challenge is to continue three programs at least. One is, of course, the green building program of the city. I don't need to share all the details right now because it's a very, very long story, and I believe PhilGBC is very familiar with our story, being the partner we chose. Sila yung pinili talaga namin when we started. Ang masasabi ko lang is when we started with this journey in green building program, we always say that it was a headache kasi it's a landmark legislation. But now that we're implementing it, it's become a migraine. We always say that, and it's really until now that's true. So yung challenge lang is to really continue the program. Yung
Mm-hmm.
pangalawang point po is our contribution to circular economy. I believe
Mm-hmm.
the city is the only partner of a Japanese company located at a neighboring municipality in the entire Philippines. Si LGU
Mm-hmm.
ng Mandaue lang ang contributor na LGU to this facility na recycling plant na they recycle our residual waste. And
Mm-hmm.
it's really something to be proud of. And but the goal, the challenge really is to be able to continue this and to of course promote and share to other LGUs to also join as well. Yung the third challenge is our COVID response. When COVID came, um, for me, yung experience ko with COVID, managing waste is it brought out the best and the worst in people because
Yeah.
the worst, I was practically familiar with the worst side of people because nobody wanted to touch wastes anymore. Everybody was
Mm-hmm.
afraid. Everybody did not know what to do. So at that point, we had to come up with a strategy with something that is legal at the same time manages our COVID wastes. That was 2 years ago. At this point, we have been able to proceed and go up to treating these wastes. Before we just partnered with a third party, and then now we're treating it ourselves. So the challenge again is really to continue this because I believe COVID is still here. Last
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks ago, a close friend of mine got COVID for the second time. So
Mm-hmm.
strategy here is to be able to be consistent about these programs because we truly believe that they work and that they help address carbon emission issues, the climate change issues.
Yeah. Is there any plan of using what you did in Mandaue and applying it to other local governments as well, or putting it into the national government, and so that they can spread it and use it as part of their guide to help other locations? Do you have plans on doing that?
That's
I
really
mean,
part
you
of
did
our
a very
goal,
nice job. Mhm.
because it's always, we always say that we're the first, but there's no second, there's no third, nobody's following, because it's really different to start. The challenge is the starting it. And then maybe we're just lucky because we've been able to partner for these three projects or programs with the right partners. Nga. For green building, there's PhilGBC. For circular
Mhm.
economy, there's GUN, the Japanese plastic recycling facility outside the city. For our COVID emergency response, we've been able to get guidance from the EMB and also from other partners who have been able to guide us. But yes, that's true. It's not supposed to be that kami lang. It has to be
Mhm.
shared to others. We've been sharing these practices to other cities, and then for the most part, they will just say, "Oh, maganda, very challenging. It's good," but they haven't been able yet to start like we did. So that's the
Mm.
challenge.
Okay, so where do you think you can come in there? I mean, to influence those other local governments. Should it be sent to the national government so that they'll be the one to, to give it to the local government instead of going straight to the local government and giving that? Okay,
I
Doctora. Dr. Linda, sorry, she's raising her hand. Maybe she has, yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Doctor.
No, kasi
Go ahead,
if it,
Doctora. First.
kasi if it is to be dictated from up there, parang it will not be as effective. I was listening to Ara.
Mhm.
Baka programs like this of the PhilGBC, there could be more of the sharing, and maybe
Mhm.
other government units having a first-hand experience of what they do in Mandaue. Although that
Mhm.
it's challenging because it's still too early to see the effect, the result of what they're doing. Because I think
Mhm.
safe thought would be the best, encouragement for local governments to go into that. Because I mean, there is always this thing about, oh, mahal yan eh, magpasolar, mahal
Mhm.
ito eh. But
Myth.
but
Oo.
if they listen to, there's already this procurement hub in the PhilGBC. You can be, you can
Mhm.
be led to an area where you can buy all of those things. The solar is no longer battery, it's not that expensive anymore. So
Yeah.
I think there is more discussion on this, and actual presentation of what they are doing, or probably visiting, seeing for themselves what's being done. Baka makatulong naman. But I mean,
Mhm.
mandating from up there without proper guidance, I think will not really hasten the process.
Yeah. Ara,
That's
you
true.
want to add?
Yeah, I totally agree with Dr. Linda. Na pag from the national, somehow it trickles down and it loses its taste down the line. Iba kasi
Ano,
if
oo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
go
give
ahead.
a specific example. When COVID started, this is just my example, my experience po. When
Mhm.
COVID started, several national agencies closed doors right away. They closed
Mhm.
office right away, and they left the job to us. Parang ganon. So if we don't do anything, nothing will happen. But if we start with something, there's a
Mhm.
chance that it will spread or it will be shared to others if it starts with us. See, national
Mhm.
can guide us, but we don't expect. That's my personal sentiment. We don't expect na they will lead the way for us. They will guide us. Yes, that's true. But in my experience, talagang the LGU has to start with something.
Something on their own. Yeah, just to
Yes.
add, Lani, yeah, yeah, thank you, Ara. Lani, in your case, I mean, since we're talking about the experience in during the pandemic, did it help when whatever you did as far as sustainability, did it help somehow? I mean, alleviating any pandemic concerns, health and
Um,
wealth and safety?
yeah, I think it did actually. Uh, as part of one classic example, and one specific example I can share with everyone. In our development, since we're building a green building, we've built what we call a potager garden on the rooftop of our residential building. And this garden is really more of an herb and vegetable garden. So during the pandemic, when our residents were locked in their units, we were able to harvest vegetables from our garden and offer it to the employees. So I think it was really something that the residents valued as being part of that development. And these are all like organic vegetables and herbs and fruits that they were able to use to take advantage of being part of our building. So and of course, I guess I'm hoping also in terms of the energy use, since they're mostly working from home, their air conditioning is on the whole time. Putting in those energy efficient air conditioning did not really contribute a lot in terms of their electrical use or
Power.
energy use. Yeah, so those things that we put in to the building, I think it helped in terms of how they got through the pandemic or the lockdowns.
Okay. The future for future women leaders. I remember earlier we were discussing to give being part of something that is being remembered by our subordinates. As a woman leader, as a mentor, if you were a mentor for sustainability, what topic would you like to discuss? Let's start with Ara.
Topic. Top of mind, I think of green building and solid waste management because that's where we really focus on.
Okay. How about you, Lani?
I would say quality education and building, sustainable communities.
Dr.
Yun
Linda? Sustainable community. Yeah. Okay. Dr. Linda.
Well, it could be in the area of convincing those in the health sector. I'm not referring just to the government, but the health sector basically, that they too are as guilty as transport, as building, and so on for climate change. And there has to be a change of attitude. And probably education is very important, or not, well, maybe education can be not very acceptable, but looking at the realities, can I give an example? When we were doing the regional consultation by the Philippine Hospital Association with all the private hospital owners, government and private, the doctors who were there were just so surprised that the operation of the operating room is so energy. It's a guzzler because of the cooling, because of the you need to cool the equipment, you need to that. But what shocked them was even the anesthesia that they're using is a great carbon the effect on the carbon is much worse. So it's a realization. I think it's more of opening the eyes in the health sector of the things that they because it's not, we are not into environment and so on, we treat, we operate, but I think looking at the accountability, putting a human face in the issue of climate change and what each one is doing. Maybe it's that some change in perspective.
Be ready. We're taking note of those ones because we will get you as mentors. So you are Lani and Dr. Linda. That's why we are checking.
Great question.
To add, what do you think? What do you think are the essential steps to take if we try of us female leaders to grow, to be continuously recognized in the building industry? Probably I'll give this to Lani and to Ara. Lani first.
I still think talagang education and awareness is the first step towards encouraging more women leaders to take part in our advocacy as early as, not just for the working class, but talagang as early as, you know, grade school, college, high school, and college. Talagang they need to be educated already in terms of sustainability, in terms of how they can, especially for women, how to assert themselves in the various industries. Because like for me, just to give a classic example, na see, when I was in college, I'm from the engineering. I took up engineering in college. Talagang the ratio of women to men is very low. Although it's been increasing, but still we're not at that level talaga na 50-50. There are some majors na number of women is just 1 out of 45, 1 out of 50. So ang baba, and it also has something to do with their perception na ay, this is a course for men. So we have to help the younger ones talagang overcome those types of mindset and encourage more of them to take that leap and be more assertive and expound on, you know, their what they're used to. So yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Ara?
If a woman sees another woman as not the other woman, if a woman sees another woman as a competitor instead of an ally, or if a woman sees another woman as a single entity and not a member of the what we call the greater tribe, there will definitely be no wala talagang growth for this tribe. So I think an essential step would be to recognize and respect current women leaders and learn from them. It's very simple, but that's where we start sustaining this group.
Yeah, instead of treating them as a competitor, treat them as an ally, right? How about you, Dr. Alinda, on mentorship for sustainability beyond building? What do you think is your significant contribution so far? You've been in the service for, like, you've been a consultant, you have a very nice track record. What do you think is your, your utmost contribution into sustainability mentorship?
Well, not really much. I mean, I think I think it's more of bringing health in mainstreaming health in the discussion of climate change. Because for far too long, health has not really been discussed that well. When you talk climate change, we talk of the economy, the development, and so on and so forth. But there has not really been that big push that health should be out there. You know, health is somebody that should respond to the ill effects of climate change, but not as, you know, somebody that should be a partner in mitigating climate change. So I guess baka it's in that area, you know, as I said before, it's really opening the eyes, introducing not new ideas, but laying down certain realities that I think I think it's in UK that in the public spending as far as I mean public hospitals account for, let's say, 45% of total public spending, and operations of hospitals and health facilities are really very expensive, and that may not be really recognized by some, but it could be improved by having all of these sustainability plans, as I said, you know, being climate smart and looking at the plans and how the operations of the hospital would be. I guess it even improves the quality of the service in the hospitals, aside from economic considerations.
Thank you, Doctor. I mean, it's very, very enlightenment. It's very enlightenment, but can you just ask a follow-up to Lani and Ara. I mean, how do you pass on that sustainability leadership or principles in your organization or in your department? I mean, let's not expect that you will be there for a long time, but how do you pass on to the next set of leaders? Who wants to start? Probably Lani?
Yeah. Well, as mentioned, the C Arthaland kasi well, the advantage that I have in my company is that we really we one of our core values to that we started with is sustainability, and we always
Mm-hmm.
say that it is already part of our DNA. Every decision we make talagang included, or talagang there's a huge consideration in terms of ensuring that all our direction goes towards our sustainability thrust. So it's really part of our culture already, in terms of uh, uh, addressing all of these sustainability issues and concerns. Um, so it's as leaders of this company, as pioneers of Arthaland, it's really our role to pass on this learnings and the culture that we've built in the sustainability, that we pass it on to our peers, especially to the new hires. Yun usually yung challenge, na when for old timers like me, talagang it comes naturally already. But
Uh-huh.
personally, when we get new hires, that's where the challenge comes in. But like I said, it's part of our core values. So it's just something that we really need to inculcate in our employees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How about you, Ara? I mean, in the local government, like in Mandaue, are there anyone besides you who can do this job? I mean, that's the challenge normally. Lani can do it very well. Dr. Linda can also do it very well. I mean, in your end, it's very challenging, really. I mean, there's not much. I think there's only a handful of people who can do your job. So, I mean, how do you go about it?
I I just recalled the first time this job was offered to me. It was many years ago. It was Mayor himself who offered this job to me, and I knew nothing of the environment, nothing. And then, because I'm an architect, and I was just learning about the ropes of the previous office, and then this was offered to me. I knew nothing. I just received this as a challenge, and then I learned later on that nobody wanted to do the job. Nobody else wanted to do the job. So maybe that's one where that's how I learned from it, mostly because no one wanted to do it. I had to learn by myself. But if the question is how do you pass on something that is valuable, like sustainability principles, simple lang talaga yung answer ko doon. It's really just two things. You set the example. You set the example for those that need to see examples, so that not much will be said if you have set the right examples.
Mm-hmm.
Second is you have to clear the path for them. I am both a recipient of that from both ends, the setting, the clearing of the path. When I was part of another office, when my boss would tell me that I'll clear the path for you, I, I I did not appreciate it as much when I was now the leader, because when you clear the path for your people,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
there is really room for growth, and then they see that things can be done. They can do things on their own because you clear the path for them.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, sometimes it's difficult to know if someone will tell you, "I'll clear the path for you." I mean, it happened to me in the past also. What path are you talking about? We can clear our own path, right, Dr. Linda? Did that ever happen to you? I love that, Ara, because it happened to me as well. I don't know with Lan if it happened to her, but Dr. I mean, did it happen to you in the past? I mean, when you were sitting down there with all those male doctors, and male leaders, and then they will say, "I'll clear the path for you, Dr. Linda."
Then I tell them, I'd clear it first for you. No, no, I'm just kidding. Uh, I well, clearing the, I think it's really a challenge for a woman. Kasi as you said, we keep going back to that, the stereotyping that you know, we are not any more capable for certain things, especially for male-dominated areas. But as I think many my co-panelists also already mentioned that you just have to show that you're capable of something. And I think what goes for a woman is that baka wala masyadong pride, no? And can
Mm.
accept things and, you know, learn from it. Minsan mas touchy pa yung men eh, kasi macho and, oh, I'm sorry ha. But general lang yun. Sometimes women can accept, I think, I mean, a constructive criticism. So when, you know, when somebody tells me I'll clear the path for you, oh, thank you very much. You know, sometimes it needs to be, you appreciate those people also who are offering their
Mm.
support. And in a way, for me as well, in a team, if I'm a leader, then I also appreciate even the lowest member of the team. You know, you'd appreciate that there are things that they know more or they know better than you. So
And yeah,
I think that's just you know, there's in a manufacturing. I remember this thing that I was that was shared with me in the big company, a soap factory or whatever. You know, you have all of this the factories that are churning out soap going around and in a package, and then they found out that there was, how come when they in the boxes delivered, some had no soap in it. You know, the pack had no soap in it. So, you know, it's bad for the company. So consultants were called, all the best people, to analyze why, how can it be, why, how can these machines cannot detect that, you know, the things going around don't have soap inside. The problem was not solved, but you know, it took someone. I think it was a woman. They said in the quality control, an ordinary employee looking at it and thinking that, oh, why don't we just use a very strong fan, you know, and focus it on all those, you know, things going around. That might,
yeah,
it might sound
good
silly,
enough.
but with
Yeah.
a very strong fan, if there is nothing inside, then it flies away. So, you know, right there and then, no, that pack has no soap inside. So, you know, this is an example that we do not, we really learn a lot from everybody, from, you know, even the lowest member of the team. So I think
Mm.
I'm prepared to accept, you know, I listen to people and I'm convinced that it's contributing to what we should do, then I do that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, sometimes not all is applicable for just one solution, right? It has to be for us. Yeah. There's a question here from Marvin Tejada. I think we have a system and processes in our public and private sector that favor men over women. Case in point, in terms of salary and compensation, what do we need to do to break down the enabling system that still favor men? Okay, who wants to take this question?
Uh,
Doctora, you want to
No,
have a crack
there,
at this?
I
Or
think there are some legislations also already out about, you know, salaries and everything. But I think every uh, yeah, I think there have been advocates already of women in job opportunities, but
Mhm.
I think it is also true that it's still a struggle for women.
Mhm.
Maybe we can, you know, we can approach, you know, you can approach also some of our legislators with that specific issue. And you know, in getting the job, if you need to have certain qualifications and certain grades of where you are and a corresponding salary scale. I think that's in government, but in the private sector, I'm not too sure, but you can start from the government what you call this, from the government standardization or the qualification. I think you have to look at specifically for certain agencies, maybe look at the HR. We have to, for those applying in the HR, you look carefully at what is stipulated in the HR contract, and try to assert, if you think that it's unfair to you, it's no one is stopping you from asking why. Sometimes it can be solved in those things. Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to be direct and ask why. I mean,
Yeah.
different organization has a different salary structure. Depending on what category they are in, and I think there are ones that still have higher salary for men, but then at the end of the day, why just ask? No, you just ask. How about you, Ara and Lani? Do you have any experiences in these kind of situations?
From men, no, wala naman.
Wala
Or I
din.
haven't heard of anything like that, at least in my experience. Ara,
Mhm.
what about?
I'll agree. I am agreeing with Miss Lani and Dr. Linda because practically sa government, structured na yung positions, yung qualifications. There's the green book
Not
and
on the
it's
gender. Yeah, not
yeah,
on the
Not
gender.
yes.
Okay. Okay. So before we end, it's a very nice discussion. But before we actually end, I have a couple of questions here, and medyo tricky the question. What advice would you give yourself as a 20 when you were still a 20-year-old? When you're 20 plus yourself, you're 20 plus year old yourself. What would you want to advise yourself? Lani.
Ako talaga really more of just
Sorry,
if I
Lani. Sorry to cut. Maybe if we can also add, what do you want to, you know that 20 years, and what do you want to do over?
what do I want to do over? Well, really, I would tell myself na talagang just don't stop learning. Diba? Continue learning. If you think you know everything, you don't. There's always something to learn from conferences like this, from your peers, from everyone, and talagang believing in yourself, and know that in whatever simple way you can really make a difference. I mean, you don't have to be I don't have to be the president of the Philippines or the president of the Green Building Council to make a difference in terms of sustainability. But early on, sana talagang have been more active in terms of in the sustainability aspect, and ensuring that I get the right education and continue learning. Yan talaga.
Mm-hmm. So that's the same advice that you will be telling your 20 plus year old self.
Yeah. Keep on learning.
Keep on learning, keep on learning. Ara,
20-year-old self, that was 31 years ago. Back when I think I did
mag-compute. Wala na
um,
nagko-compute.
Bawal mag-compute.
I would tell myself to be more in touch with your universe and then be grateful to the people you meet, good or bad, because whether you like it or not, they will be part of who you are going to be. So you have to be grateful. To do
What
thing,
to do
I don't
over?
think
Yeah.
over, wala. Practically wala talaga.
Wala talaga. Wow, that's nice. How about you, Dr. Linda?
Nahihiya naman ako sabihin, 50 years ago, parang at my 20-year-old, parang more than half century ago, hindi ko na alam kung ano ako noon, But 20-year-old, I think I was just finishing my pre-med and going into medical school. Right now where I am, probably I'd like to admonish the 20-year-old Linda. Huwag kang pasaway. Maybe the world, don't be fancy free, careless. the world doesn't revolve around you. Para bang remember that every single thing that you do would have an impact on, you know, the people around you, the world. You may think it's inconsequential, but what you do has impact on people around you, the community, and you know, the world, the planet. Kasi medyo ano din ako noon, no? Parang as yung aksaya ka noon, you know, change, buy this, buy that. But with the realization now, ako dapat nung 20 years old ka, ganyan ka na. But well, that was half a century ago. And so make up for it now.
Yeah. Yeah. Any
If
parting words that, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
no,
If you are doing,
yung
yeah,
going
go
over,
over.
doing over, no?
Yeah.
No, parang I don't have serious regrets naman. I'm quite happy. I'm now a grandmother, resting and so on. Of course, we have frustrations and we have disappointments, but you know, that's part of life. If anything, siguro, kasi maybe you notice that I'm a little bit frank and vocal and, you know, cannot keep quiet when I want to say something. I guess I will have to moderate that because I've read something about Maria Ressa saying, and I think it applies to me, that silence means consent. And you cannot be quiet if something in the area of your influence is wrong. So medyo ganyan ako, but I find out sometimes that to be frank and, you know, may not always work for the better. So medyo siguro that I will make dahan-dahan, maybe moderate that thing. Medyo silent for those little things, maybe.
I can't imagine how are you 20 years ago if right now you're like on the go. Yeah. Any parting words to the listeners? What is your personal advice to all of the participants this afternoon on how to be a good leader advocating for holistic sustainability? We can start with Lani.
Yeah, I think on the lines of making a difference, and with all this talk about sustainability, basically ask yourself, no, well, imagine what kind of a world you want to see 20 years from now, 30 years from now, and think of what you can do now to reach that. And one of the things talaga that I think would help me achieve that is being part of an organization that has the same vision as yours, and because that's the only way that you can really contribute. And it's really about thinking of the future already, and actually it's admitting or realizing or accepting that there is really this global concern that we need to work together on and address now. So really being part of an organization like that, being in contact with people, like-minded people with the same vision, it's something that's very important, especially now.
Yeah, that is really, really true. And I echo you on that, Lani. Ara?
Yes, personal advice on how to be a good leader. If we want to be good influencer, if we want to have an impact on other people and inspire other people, it's for me it's simply starting with self. I cannot expect people to change or to transform for the better if I don't do it first or if I don't do it myself. It has to start with me. So we have to start with ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to walk the talk, right? Dr. Linda, any parting words?
Maybe mine is more general, no, because I'm not really in any specific industry related. But being a leader, my advice would be to all, be the leader that you would want to follow. Kasi pag follower tayo, diba, ang dami nating reklamo about kasi ganito, kasi ganyan, you know, hindi nakikinig, blah, blah. So, be the leader that you would want to follow. Ako, I haven't gone into any management or business school. Na, you know, these are the kinds of leadership style and so on. Well, I think bawat tao, you have to see the kind of person that you would want to lead you, you know, if that's nurturing, if that is guiding you, and so on. So be the leader that you would want to follow. And I think I'd like to, sometimes in a very competitive world, everybody wanting to reach the top and trying to, you know, elbow each other out. And even those leaders who would want to keep things to themselves because they want to get power, you know, they get power out of that if they, you know, I call that maybe intellectual blackmail. Ako lang nakakaalam. I think have a change of perspective. Share, you know, don't be selfish. Share what you share, the tricks that you know that makes things work, that makes you successful. You empower, you equip others, because I believe that doing so, you you become more powerful. Because marami kang clone, maraming sumusunod sa'yo, maraming nag-espouse of your thoughts, your principles. So empower people, set them free. The more people you empower, the more powerful you are. So don't be selfish. Share.
That's true. Definitely. Thank you for that, Dr. Linda, and thank you, Ara and Lani. Now, back to Weng.
Thank you very much, G. What a wonderful please stay for a while. I think we lost Ara.
Ara, where are
Is
you?
your camera,
Oh,
please?
yeah.
I hope you're still there. What a wonderful discussion from all of you. It was such a delight to listen to everyone. Thank you, beautiful and influential women, for sharing your stories. Thank you. At this point, I would like to call on Mr. Mario Suelto for the conference reminders. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. So, just as a reminder for the upcoming episodes, tomorrow, episode 6, the Green Building Marketplace, will feature companies at the forefront of providing the latest green building technologies and practices available in the market that can help you in pursuing your green building projects. And episode 7, the Health and Well-being, will feature the new PhilGBC Health and Well-being for Buildings version 1 and projects that have prioritized health and well-being focused strategies for their building users. It will also feature companies that provide technologies and services that can help you achieve your health and well-being targets. So please scan the QR codes for each episode to register or contact the PhilGBC National Secretariat through BG2022 at philgbc.org for more information. So to formally close this episode, may I call back Ms. Rowena Ramos.
Thank you to all participants of episode 5, The Women in Green Building, as part of the Building Green Conference 2022. Thank you to our moderator, Ms. G. Garcia, and to our panelists for sharing their time and insight. From Ms. Araceli Barlam, a barrier is when a woman does not believe she has her advantages. A woman needs to own these advantages. We heard from Dr. Linda Milan, being a leader grows in a person. It's not something you choose to be, but comes to you in your journey in your life. And from Miss Lani Kanapi, determination and hard work are measures of how you become a leader. It's not about your size or your gender. A truly engaging panel this afternoon. Such an inspiration to hear your leadership stories, your respective journeys in your chosen field, openly sharing your programs and strategies to meet the set goals, and how we are all involved in the building industry from our different roles and views, all anchored in sustainability. We recognize you women leaders and we celebrate your contributions. We hope their dialogue inspires future leaders who promote net zero, healthy and green buildings in the country, and for everyone to take bolder steps in ensuring the sustainability of our built environment. Congratulations to the winners of the PhilGBC Leadership in Green Building Awards 2022, KPI Elevators Inc., Lima Estate of Lima Land Inc., and Miss Araceli Barlam. We look forward to your global recognition as the official nominees for the Philippines to the World GBC Asia Pacific Leadership in Green Building Awards 2022. We would like to thank our BG 2022 sponsors for your sustained support. Our gold strategic partner, NEO, Aboitiz Infracapital Economic Estates, City Homes Builders and Development Inc. To our silver strategic partner, World Vision Corporation, Daikin Air Conditioning Philippines Inc., and First Balfour Inc. Our bronze strategic partner, Monocrete Construction Philippines Inc., Botanica Nature Residences, Philinvest City, FPD Asia, AGC Asia Pacific Private Limited, Datum Incorporated. Join us in our upcoming episodes, Episode 6, The Green Building Marketplace. This is on Tuesday, tomorrow, 13 September at 9 in the morning, and Episode 7, The Health and Well-Being, on Wednesday, September 14 at 9 in the morning. Visit philgbc.org for more information or contact the PhilGBC National Secretariat at bg2022 at philgbc.org. Once again, thank you for joining us this afternoon for our episode, The Women in Green Building. We wish everyone a happy World Green Building Week.